One might expect the idea of a bringer of peace to be something that might not expect that to generate fear or to have any fears associated with it. But if that's the case, why do we not live that out more often? Are we a peace bringer, or do we bring disharmony to our circumstances, or worse yet, anger and unjust conflict? Most of us run the spectrum between, sometimes we do peace and sometimes we generate conflict or fall into conflict. We have good days and bad days. Sometimes we can be at peace and react in peace, and other times we just have a negative visceral reaction. Why is it that sometimes we are an antagonist, whether it's purposeful or whether it's reactionary? I think that there are two main obstacles for us being able to bring peace into our circle and perhaps even into the greater world. One would be that we're simply not at peace with ourselves. If we are troubled in our hearts, how can we be a bringer of peace? And secondly, I believe there are fears for that particular circumstance. We worry, maybe not fear, but we worry that if we try too hard, we might overcompromise, or we might be seen as weak or a pushover, or maybe we're just too tolerant or too complacent. The truth is that striving for peace is far more challenging than giving in to our reactionary emotions. It's far easier just to react rather than to take a challenge and live it and bring something to it. Look at the recent protesters. It just seems that it's far easier for us to stand up and shout in anger than it is to actually find and implement a solution that could bring peace. As time goes by, more of the details of the circumstances surrounding the death of George Floyd are becoming available. And it makes us question our initial reaction. Our first reaction was a visceral one. By many people, we were given an image, we made assumptions, we shouted in outrage. Of course, death under any circumstances is tragic, much less during an arrest. But in our rush to judgment, we didn't even pursue the full story. We missed so many details. Somehow, in the span of these last 2 generations, we've adopted as a culture the idea that authority is almost always abused, and that those in positions of authority are cold and heartless. We rush like lions to prey on the spoils of bad situations. We pretend in doing so that we're fighting for justice, and of course we want justice. But where are the peacemakers? Where are the people who are not shouting in anger, but are working towards productive solutions and who are working towards the truth of every situation? We can examine a number. There's many small conflicts in our own lives. How many of them are affected by misunderstandings? How often have we passed judgment on someone else, or someone else has passed judgment on us before the whole story was known or revealed, or because a message was misunderstood? If we had approached any one of those situations with a peaceful heart, we might have asked for clarity instead of rushing to judgment. Why does Jesus suggest that peacemaking is one of the 8 most important attitudes of a child of God? Look at the simplest level. How many tears have been shed simply as the result of a misunderstanding and the ensuing arguments? Consider 2 people who come from 2 different worlds, very different worlds. who perhaps fear one another because they do not know one another and they do not understand where they come from. Yet being able, choosing to see one another without judgment because they're approaching one another in peace instead of in fear. Anymore, we rarely even use the signs of peaceful greeting. A handshake, I have no weapon in my hand. A tip of the hat, there is no weapon under my hat. But as I mentioned in that segment on mercy, we can't give what we haven't received or what we don't have in our heart. If we're not at peace ourselves, how can we offer peace to others? We have to face our fears. We have to face the negative motivators, the motivators to conflict, and work to understand our own troubled hearts. And by doing that, then we can move forward. We do that best by taking time away from the world. We have to separate ourselves from the world regularly, perhaps by attending a church service or spending time in the beauty of nature, reflecting every day on our behaviors, trying to root out what is causing us to go into negative emotion. And as we begin to grow past those negative motivators, then we can come to a new peace in our hearts. And when we have a new peace in our hearts, we can approach situations in new ways. We can show with freedom and interest in the other persons, in the good of the other instead of ourselves. Hearing them without making judgments, without making any assessments, without misrepresenting the words they use. What a different place this would be. What a great reward for us and for all of those around us if we could approach our world, our small world, in that way. Blessed are those, happy are those, confident and unafraid, free to live and free to love. Have a beautiful day. Be at peace. And be sure to check the comments for a song pick.